Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mythic for Operators. Today, we're going to be looking at tasking. We're going to do this from the active callbacks page. We can either get there by clicking the active callbacks button up at the top, or we can click the hamburger icon and then active callbacks down here. Either way, you get taken to this page. From here, we're going to interact with a callback. In this case, we'll do callback number 3. We'll click it and have this second area given to us. Down here is where we'll start issuing our actual tasking. Now you might be wondering, well, what tasks are even available to me? What can I run? There are a couple different ways you can find that out. If you're unsure at all, you can just hit tab, and as you tab, you'll iterate through all the available commands that you can do. If you don't want to do that, you can also look here at the top, like we were looking at in a previous video, click View Metadata, and scroll down and you'll see all the available commands that are loaded up into this current callback. These are the things that you're tabbing amongst as you try and figure out what you want to do. Another way to figure this out is to run the help command. So if you just type help, you'll get this. You can expand it and see all the different commands that are currently loaded within a callback. If you want to look at more specific information about a command, so maybe this run command, you can do help run. And you can see down here, now we have another output and we can see more information specifically about run. You can see the usage, description, attributes, and the parameters that are associated with it. So what am I even looking at right here? As we go through and we look at different tasks that we run, you can collapse and expand them to show the output of what was executed. So here we can see we click expand, we get this kind of text data output. This green aspect here lets us know that this command executed successfully. We can see the date and time it was executed, what task number it is, and who actually executed it. Now, if you want to see additional information, you can always click this little blue plus icon, and we can see a wealth of other things. So we can toggle or untoggle browser scripts, which we'll cover more in depth in another video. If our responses for a specific tasking are larger than 10, then Mythic will automatically paginate that data. So if you want to view all of it at once, regardless of how much was actually sent back, you can click this to view all output at once. If you want to search that output for certain keywords, you can click the search button. If you want to just download all of the output for this specific task, you can click download. If you want to edit the tags for a specific task, which will go more in depth into a future video, you can click here. If you want to open this task in a new window, so maybe you don't want to view this task within the context of everything else that's happening on this page, you can click the expand button here. It opens up just this task in a whole new window where you can see just it in isolation. This also makes it super easy to share tasks amongst operators because you can simply copy this URL, which will allow you to link directly to this task. So you can share that amongst operators, put it in channels or whatnot, and easily reference back to different things that everybody is executing. If you want to copy the original parameters that were issued as part of this task, you can hit this little copy button. If you want to add a comment to this task, you can click here. This is one that is super helpful, especially as you're trying to troubleshoot or if you run into issues. This view all parameters. So this button will actually show you what was actually issued by you, the operator, what was sent down to the agent, if anything, what is being sent to display to you as the UI, and where was it actually issued from. Last thing here is if a task has any sort of standard out or standard error information, it will be available here. There's none available for this task, but if there was, it would be available for you right there. So let's look at this run command a bit more in depth. So we can start typing run and hit tab to autofill the rest of that command. So there are other things that it could be as well, since we just typed R, and we'll just iterate through them repeatedly. So we want run, hit space, and now we need to provide the parameters. So Mythic will automatically look at this command, see what command parameters exist, and allow you to tab complete through those as well. So we need to supply the path to the thing that we want to execute and the arguments that we want to specify to it. So let's do the path, and we'll say bin sh, and then we need to specify the arguments. So hit tab, and this goes through the rest of the parameters that are available. And now we need to specify things. So for this, we're going to go ahead and run ps. So we'll need to specify tac-c, ps, and some arguments to ps. So we'll do tac-ef. We'll hit enter, and now we'll see this is in a submitted state. So this is ready for an agent to pick it up whenever it checks in. Now that it's in the agent checked in, it picked it up, it's in agent processing. So the agent has the task, we are just waiting for the agent to report back data. All right, now the agent reported back data and said that it is finished. So we went automatically to this green kind of completed state. And here we can see this output here of Poseidon.bin running. Okay, we can also go ahead, and this one is a little bit more in depth than what we did before. We can say view all parameters, and we can see exactly what we typed and what went down to the agent. So we typed path bin sh, args, tac-c, ps, ef. What went down to the agent is a more structured representation of that data. So we have it as a dictionary, path of bin sh, and our args as an array, tac-c, ps, and tac-ef. This is just the display parameters, and we did this through the CLI. So pretty easy to see kind of what's going on there. Now, Poseidon also has the ability to do things with a built-in command. So instead of running bin sh tac-c ps, we could also run something just like ps. So this will execute a little bit differently in that there are things called browser scripts associated with some of these commands. Won't go more in depth into this now, just want to show you what it's like, and in a future video we'll go more in depth into browser scripts and kind of how they work. But here we can see the output automatically turned into a table for us. So this is a listing of all the commands from the ps command, or all the processes from the ps command. Just like from before, we have this little tab that we can use. We can view all parameters, and we didn't really specify anything. We just said ps enter. So that's why you see those as blank. But if we toggle this browser script option, you'll see all the fancy tables and buttons automatically go away, and you can see the raw data that Poseidon actually reported back. It's just structured JSON data. And so you can see it there, or you can always come back and retoggle it back on. Pretty easy to see what's going on there. Now, if we want to go ahead and maybe we have complicated parameters, or there's something a bit more in depth that we're trying to do, instead of trying to do everything on the command line where you run into potential parsing issues, or you're trying to figure out how to quote things or escape, and all that can get really complicated, especially if you're doing things like execute assembly or embedded binary execution and stuff like that. So if we look at our run command again, run specifically has a required parameter of the path to the thing to execute, and then an optional thing that you can specify for arguments. So because there is a required parameter, if I just type run and hit enter, I will get a modal pop-up that says, hey, you're trying to run a command, but there are things that we need from you that you haven't supplied yet. You need to supply them. And we can see that here, binary path is required, and you get a helpful description, absolute path to the program to run. So we can specify here that bin sh that we had before, and now we have these arguments. So we can specify piecemeal all the things that we were doing before. We wanted tac-c, and because this is an array, you can just hit enter and automatically go to the next line. So we wanted tac-c, ps, tac-ef. Now, if you wanted to modify things, you could always come back and delete these fields, add new ones. I like to do it from the command line. So we'll do our tac-c, ps, ef, and then you can tab complete down here, hit task, and we can see our command again available here for run bin sh. And if we expand it, just like everything else, we can see all parameters, tac-c, ps, tac-ef available for us here, and bam, we have the output. Now, if there aren't necessarily required parameters, but there are parameters available, you could always type out the command that you want to run and hit Shift Enter. That will force this modal window to pop up for you to populate data that you want. So we know that this binary path is required. Let's check this out. We'll do run path bin sh, and at this point, we're going to hit our Shift Enter, force pop up the modal, and it will auto fill in all the pieces that you've filled up to this point. And then you can go ahead and do taxi, ps, tac ef, and issue your tasking. So there are a lot of different ways to kind of manipulate the data that you're trying to issue. I know that the modal breaks operator flow a little bit as you're trying to issue things because everybody likes to just type on the command line. But whenever you're dealing with this sort of nested escapes and all that sort of information, the modal will automatically take everything you type as JSON and pass it down. So there's no extra processing that's happening to try and determine, breaking on spaces and quotes and escapes and all this sort of stuff. It is just what you type, which makes it really handy. This was a quick overview of tasking and how to use tab complete and the various ways to view the data that kind of pops up. In future videos, we'll dive more in depth into some more complicated pieces of tasking and how you can kind of go about manipulating them and using them to your advantage.